No warning, no discussion, just one royal statement that changed everything. Princess Anne has declared that Lilibet's future is already decided, and the reaction behind palace walls was explosive. Voices were raised, lines were drawn, and Meghan did not stay silent. What really happened inside the royal circle? And why does this decision matter more than anyone expected? The room was quiet. Not peaceful quiet, tense quiet. The kind that makes people sit straighter and breathe slower. Inside Buckingham Palace, a small group had gathered for what many thought would be a routine royal discussion. No cameras, no press, just senior family members and trusted advisors. Then the words were spoken. Lilibet's future had already been decided. No long debate, no careful vote, just a clear statement delivered with calm certainty. The kind of certainty that leaves no room for argument. For a moment, no one moved. Some stared down at the table. Others exchanged quick, uneasy glances. The weight of the announcement hung in the air like a storm cloud that had suddenly appeared without warning. Even those used to royal protocol felt the shift. Because decisions about children, especially children connected to the crown, are never simple. They carry history, duty, expectation, and sometimes control. Across the palace, whispers began spreading almost instantly. Staff moved quietly through long corridors, carrying the news from office to office. Doors closed faster than usual. Conversations dropped to hushed tones. Something serious had just happened, something that could reshape family relationships for years. At Windsor Castle, where many of the monarchy's most important decisions have been shaped over centuries, the reaction was just as tense. Senior figures understood what this meant. A line had been drawn, and once the monarchy draws a line, it rarely erases it. Even King Charles III was said to be watching closely, aware that any decision affecting the next generation carries consequences far beyond the present moment. Meanwhile, far from palace walls, another reaction was building, one no royal protocol could fully contain. Because when Prince Harry and his household learned what had been declared, emotions did not stay quiet. In royal life, nothing is truly private, especially when it comes to children connected to the crown. From the moment a royal child is born, their future is never just their own. It becomes part of something much bigger. Tradition, stability, image, continuity. That's why Lilibet's future didn't suddenly become important overnight. It had been quietly discussed for years. Inside the structure of the British royal family, every new generation represents both hope and responsibility. Each child is seen as a living link between the past and the future, a symbol of what the monarchy will become decades from now. And history has shown that planning starts early, very early. Royal households carefully consider where children will grow up, what titles they may carry, what education they will receive, and how visible they will be to the public. Even their role in national ceremonies can be mapped out long before they are old enough to understand what any of it means. This isn't unusual in royal history. At estates like Sandringham House and Balmoral Castle, generations of young royals have been raised under careful guidance, taught not just family values but public duty. These places are more than homes. They are training grounds for royal life. And the system works on one central belief: stability must come before personal preference. That belief has shaped many royal childhoods, including that of Prince George of Wales, whose path has been watched closely since the day he was born. His future role has long been understood, not because he chose it, but because the monarchy depends on clear lines of succession and purpose. So when conversations turned toward Lilibet, the thinking inside royal circles followed the same pattern. Questions were asked quietly. Where does she belong within the royal structure? What role, if any, should she hold in the future? How should her identity connect to the monarchy's long-term stability? These were not emotional questions. They were institutional ones. And institutions do not like uncertainty, especially not in a time when the monarchy is already navigating public scrutiny, generational change, and shifting expectations about what royalty should look like in the modern world. Some insiders believed clarity was necessary. Others believed patience was wiser. But one thing was certain: the longer questions remained unanswered, the more tension would grow. So discussions became more serious, more focused, more urgent, until finally, a decision was formed. Not everyone agreed with how quickly it happened. Not everyone agreed it should happen at all. But once the idea of deciding the future entered the room, there was no turning back. And when that decision reached the people most personally connected to it, emotion replaced strategy. Everything changed in a single moment. If you're following this unfolding royal drama, make sure to like the video and subscribe, because what happened next was not quiet, controlled, or diplomatic. Thousands of miles away from palace walls, life was moving at a very different pace. In the quiet coastal town of Montecito, the atmosphere was calm. The air was warm. The routines were familiar. It felt far removed from royal corridors and formal decisions. Until the message arrived. At first, it sounded unbelievable. A decision already made? No consultation? No discussion? No voice from the parents most directly involved? When Meghan Markle heard the words, the reaction was immediate and deeply personal. Because this wasn't just about royal structure. This wasn't about tradition or protocol. This was about her child. Those close to the situation describe a moment of complete disbelief. Not confusion, disbelief. The kind that comes when something feels impossible to accept. For Meghan, the idea that others had defined her child's future without direct involvement crossed a line that was never meant to be crossed. Royal decisions may follow history, but motherhood follows instinct. And instinct does not stay quiet when it feels threatened. The calm of the home shifted quickly. Conversations became sharper. Questions came faster. How had this been decided? Who agreed? Why was she not fully included? There was frustration, then anger, then something deeper, determination. Because this was not just another royal disagreement. This touched identity, independence, and the life her family had worked hard to build outside traditional royal expectations. For years, distance from royal control had been part of a carefully chosen path. A path built on autonomy, on creating a different environment, a different future. And now, suddenly, that future seemed to be pulled back into the orbit of an institution they had stepped away from. Those close to Prince Harry say he, too, felt the weight of the moment, torn between lifelong understanding of royal duty and the family life he had chosen to protect. But Meghan's reaction was unmistakable. She would not accept silence. She would not accept assumption. And she would not accept a decision made without her voice being fully heard. What followed was not a quiet exchange of formal messages. It was emotional, direct, urgent, because when personal boundaries meet royal authority, neither side easily gives ground. And inside the monarchy, one person in particular remained completely unmoved by the reaction. A woman known for discipline, for duty, for never bending under pressure. Princess Anne, and the reason she stood so firm, reveals everything about how power truly works inside the royal family. There is something about Princess Anne that makes people listen. Not because she demands attention, not because she raises her voice, but because she rarely speaks unless she is absolutely certain. Inside royal circles, her reputation is clear, steady, disciplined, and deeply loyal to duty above all else. While others may debate, hesitate, or negotiate, she decides. And once she decides, she does not step back. Princess Anne has long been known as one of the most hardworking members of the monarchy. For decades, she has carried out royal responsibilities with little interest in public praise. No drama, no spectacle, just service. That quiet consistency has earned her something far more powerful than popularity. Trust. The kind of trust that builds slowly over a lifetime and becomes unshakable. Her approach was shaped early, under the watchful guidance of Queen Elizabeth II. From childhood, and witnessed what it meant to place duty above personal comfort. She saw firsthand how decisions within the monarchy must serve stability first, even when those decisions are difficult for individuals. Especially when they are difficult. Unlike many public figures, Anne has never shown interest in softening royal expectations to match modern emotion. She believes the monarchy survives because it stands firm, not because it adapts to every personal conflict. That belief explains everything about her response to Lilibet's future. To Anne, the matter was not about feelings. It was about structure, continuity, responsibility. She sees the monarchy as something larger than any single family member, larger than disagreement, distance, or personal choice. A living institution that must remain organized across generations. And from her perspective, uncertainty is dangerous. History has shown that when royal roles are unclear, confusion spreads within the family, within the public, and across the entire national identity tied to the crown. And has spent her life preventing that kind of instability. Her firmness is not sudden. It is a pattern. Even outside royal life, she has always shown remarkable discipline. Once representing her country at the Olympic Games, competing with the same determination she brings to every royal duty. Focus, endurance, commitment. These are not traits that disappear when conflict arises. So when strong emotional reactions emerged, and did not change course, she did not retreat. She did not negotiate publicly. She did not explain more than she believed necessary. To her, the decision had already been carefully considered, and once made, it stood. This is the quiet authority that defines her power inside the monarchy. Not loud control, but unwavering certainty. And that certainty is precisely what made the conflict so intense. Because when firm tradition meets fierce personal protection, compromise becomes nearly impossible. If you're finding this royal power struggle as gripping as it sounds, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because what happens next reveals the hidden traditions that shaped this decision long before anyone realized. Ancient customs, unwritten rules, generational expectations, the kind that quietly shape royal lives, before those lives even begin. Royal life is not built only on public ceremonies and official titles. Beneath the polished image lies something far more powerful: tradition. Not written rules, not always spoken rules, but traditions followed so consistently, they become almost unbreakable. For centuries, royal children have grown up within carefully structured expectations that begin long before they understand what royalty even means. Their paths are quietly shaped by patterns passed down through generations. One of the most important traditions is early identity formation. In royal families, a child is never simply raised, they are prepared. Prepared for visibility. Prepared for responsibility. Prepared for a role that supports the stability of the crown, whether large or small. And this preparation begins with environment. Where a royal child spends time matters deeply. Residences are not just homes. They represent belonging, heritage, and symbolic connection to the monarchy's history. Places like Kensington Palace have long served as spaces where young royals grow up, surrounded by structure, formal routines, historical awareness, and constant reminders of public duty. Even family gatherings carry meaning. Annual traditions such as Christmas walks, formal balcony appearances, and carefully observed milestones are not casual celebrations. They introduce royal children to public expectation early, teaching them how to exist both as individuals